Finally, at long last, we have the box out of the shed. We have the box in the corner on the deck, and we're getting ready to open this up. Fine. But first I need to tell you how it came to be in my possession. About 4 months ago, a fellow named Martin, who happens to be 79 years old, by the way, 79 years young, I guess I should say. He lives in Georgia. He contacted me and he said, "John, I've got a deal for you." He said, "Consider the deal." I said, "All right." He said, "I have a radio in my possession that I would like to see restored on YouTube the same way you did the Atwater Kent 145, you know. And for those of you who don't follow my videos, we just finished at the end of 2013, we finished a complete restoration of an Atwater Kent 145. It was a 38 video series. So that's what he wanted. He says, if you will restore the radio I send you and get it playing, so I can hear it playing, I will give the radio to you lock, stock, and barrel. Well, you know, he told me what kind of radio it was, and it was a Philco model 372760. And I got to thinking about that, you know, and I said, well, you know, let me think about it for a while. Let me get back with you. And while we're getting ready, I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and open this box while you watch this. These are the clues I gave you as to what was in that box. And had you typed it all in one line on Google, I gave you 1869, Wofford College, Martin Luther, 1961, and Banks. Let's go down here and search and see what that gives us. Now, here's the top link. Martin Luther Banks Jr., 1869 to 1961. Martin Luther Banks Jr., 1869, 1961. Let's click on that. Now, I know that Radio Al did this, so let's click on that. And we wind up with a Find a Grave site. And right there is Reverend Martin Luther Banks Jr., who attended in 1894, I believe it was. Let's get this back up here. Let me see, he graduated from Wofford College in 1894, and he was called to preach from his earliest recollections. Well, what does the Reverend Martin Luther Banks Jr., that's his wife, by the way, on the right, what does that have to do with the radio in this box? Now, this radio belonged to Martin's grandfather and his grandmother, and he kept it in the family. His mother kept it in the family after his grandfather died, and he would like to see his grandpa's radio play again. He wants to have it put back in the condition, you know, to where it's playable and it looks good. He'd like to see it done, and you know, I understand that. I can understand that. This is a family heirloom. And it was very, very kind to him to offer this thing to me after I get it all completed. That takes a lot of character in my mind. So I thought about it for a while, and I got thinking, and I got thinking. Well, you know, I have a tough time turning down that kind of a thing. I don't know. I just have a tough time turning down something, you know, a parent's radio, grandparent's radio that someone would like to see fixed. I've fixed numerous of those radios over the years, and I'm going to do my best to go ahead and do that for Martin. And we'll go ahead and turn it around. And incidentally, Martin doesn't know how his grandfather ever came to own this radio, because he was a reverend in the church his entire life, and he never had a lot of money, you know. I mean, and so he said he could have probably never afforded this kind of radio. This idiot over here, he's really having a lot of fun with his gun. Anyway, and you know, another thing is interesting, he hasn't fired that gun in 2 weeks, and now I come out here to make a video, here he is over here acting the fool, you know. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and see what we can do with this thing. I'll do a little bit of a close-up here. I'll take the camera off the tripod. You've got to be kidding me. Now he's got the big gun out there. I wonder if the machine gun comes out next. Well, he's out of bullets. Good. Anyway, let's go ahead and take the camera off the tripod, and we'll give you, a look all the way around, a little closer inspection here. Well, the finish isn't too bad. Someone would say that's pretty rough, but it really isn't. At least all the veneer is there. None of it is chipped or broken or cracked on this side. Let's go around over here. I haven't really inspected this thing yet. Well, it looks pretty good. It all looks pretty good. That's going to be an easy refinish. It will need to be refinished. As you can see, the entire top has got, water stains and all sorts of things on it. I think we can do good with that. The grill cloth is pretty much all there. It's got a couple of small holes in it. I'm not sure what I plan to do about that. That looks salvageable, believe it or not. Even with those tiny little holes, it looks salvageable. The grill work is good. The knobs are missing. Now, why are the knobs missing? There's another person who plays a part in the radio that's inside this box. Her name is Janet Banks, and she was born in 1904. Now, Janet was the daughter of the Reverend Martin Luther Banks Jr. and his wife Maud. And she was a very accomplished woman, Janet was. Grew up in the church, was inspired by her dad, I'm sure, all the time. And she graduated from high school as the valedictorian, attended college, very sharp, and eventually became the choir leader and the organist for the church. She taught school. And her husband died after 11 years of marriage. She married a guy by the name of Carson, James McElhaney Carson Jr. 11 years later, he died, and she wound up raising her kids by herself as a single parent, long before we even heard of single parenting in our country. So she was a pioneer in that area. Let me go ahead and give you a larger photograph of her. Very accomplished, very tough woman. She overcame several diseases in her life, to include cancer, and eventually died in 1993 of congestive heart failure. During the 1970s or early 1980s, Martin's mother, Janet, took this radio to a local electronics repair shop. I guess it was a TV repair shop. And they kept it for a while. They were going to try to repair it, but of course they never could do it, or didn't want to do it, or didn't care to do it. I don't know what the situation was. Anyway, they gave it back to her, and they gave it back to her with the knobs missing, and it was, the tubes were all out of the chassis, and the shadow meter was unplugged from the unit and just laying up inside. Just one of those careless deals. Who cares? We can't fix it. Give it back to the customer. Too bad, so sad for them. Anyway, other than the shadow meter, which is it's a cool shadow meter, one of the old models. I've never worked on one of the older models. I hope that coil's good. If it's not, I got a problem. Do I have a problem? Anyway, the speaker looks to be okay. All the pieces and parts appear to be there. And I don't think they even hooked the chassis all the way in. I think they just put a few screws in the bottom, yeah. They just stuck a few screws in the bottom to get the chassis in, hand it back to Martin's mother. To them it just was a piece of crap. They didn't care. Well, I care. It's amazing that I'm sitting here holding a radio. I got my hand on a radio that belonged to a fella who was born in 1869. Being the nostalgic type and the sentimental type, that has a lot of meaning to me. Look at here, we've even got I think this might be the shield that goes over this. I have no idea what that's from. We're going to have to find out. It may go over the light over here, up there. I don't know. I'll have to dig it around. We'll find out what it is. I haven't even looked underneath the chassis. Anyway, initially I told Martin, I said, I don't know if I want to work on a radio that's been to a shop and came back, and they said they couldn't fix it, they couldn't do anything with it. They may have ruined the coils in it. There's like 15 coils in this thing, not counting the transformer, and not counting the audio output transformer. And I said, I don't know, if there's something wrong with the coils, we're dead in the water. I'd have to rewind them, try to find another one, whatever. Anyway, he sent back another. He's a persistent little feller. He sent back another message, and we bantered back and forth, and finally he broke me down. The boy broke me down. He knows how to do it. So that's it, folks. This is our very next project, and I don't know how long it's going to take. But you know something? It'll take as long as it takes. Those of you who want to stick around to the bitter end, I'll be glad to have you with me all the way. Those of you who do not, well, you know, it's up to you. But lots of the stuff that you will see on this radio has already been done on previous radios that I've restored. And other people have restored. So, next up will be the removal of the chassis, and we'll look underneath there. That'll be the next video. So now, the mystery is solved. The Reverend Martin Luther Banks Jr., his radio, he died in 1961, by the way. And this is kind of cool. We have a cracked glass right here, a big old cracked glass. But I think that's just a flat piece of round glass. So I might be able to get one of those somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate you, hanging in there and putting up with all these little clues I gave you. And, oh yeah, by the way, I got one more thing. Let me get it. It's what's in this box right here that we're going to open up. That was a prize. It's a prize. And it's to go to the one who came closest from the clues I gave to identifying, what was in that box and what it was all about. Remember now, it was not the radio I was looking for. It was the story behind the radio. All of you who have watched my videos over the years know that I like a radio that has a story. Well, the one that came closest, even though he didn't understand that it was a story rather than the model I was looking for, that person was Old Radio Al. He came up with the Reverend Martin Luther Banks Jr. And so he wins the prize. So we'll go ahead and open this thing up and we'll find out exactly what Old Radio Al won. Wait a minute. I'm not going to open that box up. I'm going to let Al do it. And then he can show his subscribers what he won. So Al, keep your eye on the mail. Until next time, this is John.